Before we start, make sure to like and subscribe for more educational English videos like this one. Asterisk the illusion of productivity. You know, there's something strangely comforting about being busy. Not necessarily productive, not necessarily effective, but busy. I've noticed that a lot of people, myself included at times, tend to equate a packed schedule with meaningful progress. But the truth is, those two things don't always go hand in hand. Let me give you an example. A few years ago, I went through a phase where I was working almost non-stop. I had back-to-back meetings, endless email threads to respond to, and a to-do list that never seemed to shrink. At the end of each day, I felt exhausted, but also oddly satisfied, like I had accomplished something significant. But when I actually stopped and reflected on what I had achieved over weeks or even months, I realized something unsettling. Very little of it had real, lasting impact. That's when I started questioning the very nature of productivity. Is productivity about how much you do, or is it about the value of what you do? We live in a culture that glorifies hustle. You see it everywhere on social media, in startup culture, even in casual conversations. People wear their busyness like a badge of honor. I barely slept last night, someone might say, almost proudly. Or I've been swamped all week. It's as if exhaustion has become a status symbol. But here's the paradox. The more we chase this idea of constant activity, the less we seem to accomplish in a meaningful sense. Why? Because busyness often distracts us from deep, focused work, the kind of work that actually moves the needle. Deep work requires something that modern life rarely allows: uninterrupted time and mental clarity. And those are precisely the things we sacrifice when we fill every moment with tasks, notifications, and obligations. Another aspect that complicates things is the illusion of urgency. Not everything that feels urgent is actually important. Emails, messages, and minor tasks demand immediate attention, but they rarely contribute to long-term goals. Meanwhile, the truly important work, the kind that requires thought, creativity, and sustained effort, gets postponed because it doesn't scream for attention. So what can we do about this? Well, the first step is awareness. You have to start noticing how you spend your time and, more importantly, why. Are you doing something because it genuinely matters, or because it feels easier than tackling something more challenging? The second step is learning to prioritize, not just in theory, but in practice. This means making conscious decisions about what deserves your energy and what doesn't, and sometimes that involves saying no, which is easier said than done. Finally, there's the idea of redefining productivity altogether. Instead of measuring your day by how busy you were, try measuring it by what actually made a difference. Did you solve a meaningful problem? Did you create something valuable? Did you make progress on something that truly matters to you? Because at the end of the day, productivity isn't about motion, it's about direction. And if you're constantly moving but heading nowhere, then perhaps it's time to pause, reassess, and choose a better path forward.
The illusion of productivity in the modern age. In recent years, there has been an increasing preoccupation with productivity, particularly in professional and academic environments. At first glance, this emphasis appears both rational and beneficial. After all, who wouldn't want to accomplish more in less time? However, upon closer examination, one might begin to question whether our modern understanding of productivity is, in fact, deeply flawed. To begin with, it is crucial to distinguish between being busy and being productive. While the two are often used interchangeably, they represent fundamentally different concepts. Busyness implies constant activity, responding to emails, attending meetings, multitasking, whereas productivity suggests meaningful progress toward a clearly defined goal. Ironically, the former often comes at the expense of the latter. Consider, for instance, the typical workday of an office employee. From the moment they arrive, they are inundated with notifications, deadlines, and requests for collaboration. As a result, their attention becomes fragmented, making it increasingly difficult to engage in deep, focused work. Numerous studies have indicated that it can take up to 20 minutes to regain concentration after a single interruption. When such disruptions occur repeatedly throughout the day, the cumulative effect is substantial. Furthermore, the rise of digital tools, while ostensibly designed to enhance efficiency, has paradoxically contributed to this problem. Applications that promise to streamline communication often create an expectation of immediate response, thereby fostering a culture of urgency rather than one of thoughtful deliberation. In such an environment, individuals may feel compelled to prioritize responsiveness over substance. Another factor worth considering is the psychological dimension of productivity. Many individuals derive a sense of accomplishment from completing small, easily achievable tasks, such as clearing their inbox or organizing files. While these activities can provide short-term satisfaction, they do not necessarily contribute to long-term objectives. This phenomenon, sometimes referred to as pseudo-productivity, can create the illusion of progress without yielding meaningful results. On a broader scale, societal expectations also play a significant role. In many cultures, there is an implicit assumption that one's value is directly tied to one's output. This mindset can lead to overwork, burnout, and a diminished capacity for creative thinking. Ironically, by attempting to maximize productivity, individuals may ultimately undermine their own effectiveness. So, what can be done to address this issue? One possible solution lies in redefining productivity altogether. Rather than focusing solely on quantity, how much work is completed, we might instead prioritize quality and impact. This would involve setting clear priorities, minimizing distractions, and allocating time for deep, uninterrupted work. In conclusion, while productivity remains an important goal, it is essential to approach it with a critical perspective. By recognizing the limitations of our current paradigm, we can begin to develop more sustainable and meaningful ways of working. Ultimately, true productivity is not about doing more, but about doing what truly matters.
Rethinking intelligence in an age of information overload. In an era defined by unprecedented access to information, the concept of intelligence is undergoing a subtle yet profound transformation. Traditionally, intelligence was associated with the ability to recall facts, solve complex problems, and demonstrate logical reasoning under pressure. However, as digital technologies continue to reshape the way we interact with knowledge, these conventional markers are increasingly being called into question. To understand this shift, one must first consider the sheer volume of information available today. With just a few clicks, individuals can access vast databases of knowledge that would have been unimaginable just a few decades ago. While this democratization of information has undoubtedly brought numerous benefits, it has also introduced a new set of challenges. Chief among these is the difficulty of distinguishing between reliable and unreliable sources. In this context, intelligence is no longer solely about what one knows, but rather about how effectively one can navigate, evaluate, and synthesize information. Critical thinking, therefore, has emerged as a central component of modern intelligence. Individuals must be able to question assumptions, identify biases, and assess the credibility of the information they encounter. Moreover, the rapid pace of technological advancement has made adaptability an essential trait. Knowledge that was once considered cutting-edge can quickly become obsolete, requiring individuals to continuously update their understanding. This has given rise to the notion of lifelong learning, a concept that emphasizes the ongoing pursuit of knowledge beyond formal education. Another important aspect to consider is the role of attention. In a world saturated with notifications, advertisements, and endless streams of content, the ability to maintain focus has become increasingly rare. Some researchers argue that attention is, in fact, one of the most valuable cognitive resources in the modern age. Without it, even the most intelligent individuals may struggle to engage in meaningful thought. Interestingly, this environment has also blurred the line between human and artificial intelligence. With the advent of advanced algorithms and machine learning systems, tasks that once required human intellect can now be performed with remarkable efficiency by machines. This raises important questions about what it truly means to be intelligent. If a machine can analyze data faster and more accurately than a human, does that make it more intelligent or simply more efficient? While some view this development with concern, others see it as an opportunity to redefine human intelligence in more nuanced terms. Rather than competing with machines in areas where they excel, humans might instead focus on qualities that are uniquely human, such as creativity, emotional intelligence, and ethical reasoning. These attributes are not easily replicated by algorithms and may, in fact, become increasingly valuable in the future. Furthermore, collaboration is becoming an essential component of intelligence. In complex, interconnected systems, no single individual possesses all the necessary knowledge to solve multifaceted problems. As a result, the ability to work effectively with others, sharing ideas, negotiating perspectives, and building upon collective insights has become a key indicator of intellectual capability. It is also worth noting that cultural perspectives play a significant role in shaping our understanding of intelligence. Different societies may prioritize different skills and attributes, leading to diverse interpretations of what it means to be intelligent. For example, while some cultures emphasize analytical reasoning, others may place greater value on social harmony or practical problem solving. Ultimately, the evolving nature of intelligence reflects broader changes in society. As the world becomes more complex and interconnected, the skills required to navigate it are also becoming more diverse. Intelligence is no longer a static trait, but a dynamic and multifaceted construct that encompasses a wide range of abilities. In conclusion, as we continue to navigate the complexities of the information age, it is essential to adopt a more flexible and inclusive understanding of intelligence. By doing so, we can better equip ourselves to face the challenges of the modern world and make more informed, thoughtful decisions. Rather than asking how much we know, perhaps the more important question is how we use what we know.
The subtle art of decision-making in an uncertain world. Decision-making is often perceived as a straightforward process. One evaluates the available options, weighs the potential outcomes, and selects the most favorable course of action. However, in reality, this process is far more complex, particularly in a world characterized by uncertainty, ambiguity, and rapidly changing conditions. While it may be comforting to believe that our choices are guided by logic and reason, a growing body of research suggests that they are, in fact, heavily influenced by cognitive biases, emotional responses, and contextual factors that operate beneath the level of conscious awareness. To begin with, it is important to acknowledge the limitations of human rationality. Contrary to the classical economic model, which assumes that individuals are perfectly rational actors capable of making optimal decisions, real-world behavior often deviates significantly from this ideal. One reason for this is the concept of bounded rationality, which suggests that individuals make decisions based on limited information, limited time, and limited cognitive resources. As a result, rather than seeking the optimal solution, people tend to settle for what is good enough, a strategy known as satisficing. In addition to these cognitive constraints, decision-making is further complicated by the presence of uncertainty. In many situations, the outcomes of our choices cannot be predicted with complete accuracy. This is particularly true in complex systems, such as financial markets, climate dynamics, or geopolitical relations, where numerous variables interact in unpredictable ways. Under such conditions, individuals may rely on heuristics, mental shortcuts that simplify decision-making but can also lead to systematic errors. One well-documented example is the availability heuristic, whereby individuals estimate the likelihood of an event based on how easily examples come to mind. For instance, after hearing about a plane crash on the news, a person might overestimate the risks associated with air travel, despite statistical evidence indicating that it is one of the safest modes of transportation. Similarly, the confirmation bias leads individuals to favor information that supports their existing beliefs while disregarding evidence to the contrary. Emotional factors also play a significant role. While emotions are often viewed as obstacles to rational thinking, they can, in some cases, provide valuable insights. For example, feelings of discomfort or unease may signal potential risks that are not immediately apparent through logical analysis alone. However, when emotions become overwhelming, such as in situations involving fear, anger, or stress, they can impair judgment and lead to impulsive decisions. Another important consideration is the influence of social context. Human beings are inherently social creatures, and their decisions are often shaped by the expectations, behaviors, and opinions of others. This can manifest in various ways, such as conformity, peer pressure, or the desire for social approval. In group settings, this dynamic can give rise to phenomena such as groupthink, where the desire for consensus overrides critical evaluation of alternative viewpoints. In recent years, technological advancements have introduced new dimensions to the decision-making process. Algorithms and data-driven models are increasingly being used to inform, and in some cases even automate, decisions in areas ranging from healthcare to finance. While these tools can enhance accuracy and efficiency, they also raise important ethical questions. For instance, to what extent should individuals rely on automated systems? And how can we ensure that these systems are free from bias and transparent in their reasoning? Given these complexities, it becomes evident that effective decision-making requires more than just analytical skills. It also involves self-awareness, the ability to recognize one's own biases and limitations, as well as the willingness to revise one's assumptions in light of new evidence. Furthermore, it requires a tolerance for uncertainty and the capacity to make informed judgments even in the absence of complete information. One strategy that has gained increasing attention is the concept of probabilistic thinking. Rather than viewing outcomes in binary terms, success or failure, this approach encourages individuals to consider a range of possible scenarios and assign probabilities to each. By doing so, decision makers can better account for uncertainty and make more nuanced choices. Additionally, reflection plays a crucial role in improving decision-making over time. By analyzing past decisions, both successful and unsuccessful individuals can identify patterns in their thinking and learn from their mistakes. This iterative process not only enhances future performance, but also fosters a deeper understanding of the decision-making process itself. Ultimately, decision-making in an uncertain world is as much an art as it is a science. While analytical tools and frameworks can provide valuable guidance, they cannot eliminate uncertainty altogether. Instead, the goal should be to develop a flexible and adaptive mindset, one that is capable of navigating complexity, embracing ambiguity, and making thoughtful choices in the face of incomplete information. In conclusion, as the pace of change continues to accelerate, the ability to make sound decisions will become increasingly important. By cultivating critical thinking, emotional awareness, and intellectual humility, individuals can better navigate the challenges of the modern world and make choices that are not only effective, but also meaningful.